All right. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to our Mountain Talk today. My name is Jennifer Cunningham. I am the AVP of Alumni Relations here at Lehigh University. And today we are going to hear about Lehigh's new service for career coaching from a couple of our alumni. So as a little bit of introduction about the program, you may or may not know that Lehigh has about 80,000 alumni around the world. And we have one staff member devoted to alumni career counseling. And she is phenomenal, but do the math, 80,000 to 1 is a little much. Even if we had 100 people on staff, it would still be something that we probably could not accommodate all of the alumni that are looking for career help. So that one staff member, Karen Kozinski, had a very smart idea to find a couple of alumni who do this for a living and who would be willing to let us feed them Lehigh alumni in exchange for a little discount on their services. So she went out and found our panelists today, who I'll introduce in just a second. So you're going to hear from them a little bit about what they can offer and have the chance to ask your questions. And the way that you'll do that is at the bottom of your screen, there's some icons, and there's one that says chat. It looks like a little cartoon bubble with 3 dots in it. So if you don't have that window up, click that now, and you'll see a box come up, and you just type your message where it says type message here and hit reply or hit return, and I will read the questions as we go along to our panelists. And the success of these webinars really depends on you and your questions. I have a bunch of questions that I will ask if I don't hear from you, but really this is meant to be interactive and most helpful for you. So I do hope that you'll ask some questions. I see that Tanya has already used the chat box, so thank you, Tanya, a former LUA board member. Good to see you on. So our 2 alumni, and I love that they're Lehigh alumni. I'm so happy that Karen could find a couple of people already in the family to help us with this. Jena Viviano is class of 12, was a marketing and finance double major, and Lauren Gibbons is class of 2000. And she has been a senior talent manager and in HR for a long while. So I'm going to turn it over to them to give just a brief summary of themselves, and then we'll get right to your questions. So Jena, over to you.
Hi, y'all. I'm in Nashville, Tennessee, so I'm a Southerner now. But I'm so happy to be with you here on a Wednesday. Hope everyone's having a good week. So just a brief kind of overview of a little bit about what I've done in my career and why I'm here talking to you today, and kind of some of the things that I work on with some clients is I started my career out in investment banking. I worked on Wall Street and realized that probably wasn't the right move for me. I worked for great people, but moved and switched over and worked for a startup for 2 years before launching my practice full time. So I hear you career pivoters. If you're looking to do a career pivot, I get you. So I specialize in helping mid to senior level career professionals pivot in their careers and really focus on the personal branding aspect of finding a new job. So everything from job search strategy to figuring out what you want to do with your lives to the ever dreaded resume, LinkedIn, cover letter, and interview prep. So that's a little bit about what I do.
Lovely. Wonderful. Thanks, Jena. I'm Lauren Gibbons. I was Boche while I was at Lehigh. As Jennifer said, I'm class of 2000. And actually, I got my start, I should say, at Lehigh. I was a peer educator at Lehigh, where they had launched a program to help students support other students. Very similar to the way that we're helping alumni now. Maybe it's scaled back. It was a little scaled back then. But anyway, I got my career, started my career in advertising. It's human resources and advertising, and I have about 15 years in HR, mostly in the advertising setting, so media, advertising, digital media, etc. Working in human resources, I spent a lot of time working in internal recruiting, so managing levels from junior to senior level, as well as work-life management. So in addition to helping people feel mentally, spiritually healthy, so they like coming to work, I did a lot of work with working parents and helping them adjust to balancing the never-ending juggling act between work and family, helping employees set up helping women in particular set up flexible work arrangements and how to do that appropriately, as well as internal coaching. I got my coach certification through the Coaches Training Institute in 2010, and I have been internally and externally supporting individuals with various coaching and various career needs. So anything like very similar to Jena, so entry level to senior level, helping them lead roles, how to succeed and be a leader in their current role, job and career changes. In addition to helping mothers that have taken time off, or fathers, but mostly mothers, return to work after taking some time off from the work world. So, but there's a little bit more, but I'm sure we'll get to it.
Okay, fabulous. All right, so let's get right into it. Again, if you look at the bottom of your screen, hit the chat button, and you will see that webinar or see that window pop up. And while we are waiting for you to ask your questions, a technical question for you both. You're in Tennessee and you're in Boston, I believe, Lauren.
Mm-hmm.
So do you mostly work with people over Skype, or do you see clients in your office? How does that work?
I can start. So I actually don't work with anybody in the Nashville area. So if you're in Nashville, I'd love to meet you. But I work pretty much remotely with all of my folks, either actually use this platform, Zoom. So I do video chat or a phone call with most people in a lot of big cities. Actually work internationally as well.
Okay.
Yeah, same. Actually, I would say almost 100% of my clients are via phone. I do use Zoom when if that's something that the client recommends. But again, I do. I also have clients nationally. I do for some my clients that are in the Boston area. First, if they've never done anything remotely, then I do offer an opportunity to meet for coffee so they can see me face to face, and usually that at that point it's they're satiated and they do suggest and want to move forward with remote coaching. So.
Great. All right. So one of the questions that we get a lot here, even in my office, is about LinkedIn and how effective LinkedIn is as a platform. A lot of people will tell us, well, I go on there, I keep it updated just in case, a recruiter is doing a search, but they don't really use it for networking. Can you both talk a little bit about how important LinkedIn is for your career, even when you're happily employed? Is it really a platform that we should be using, or is it just a place to throw up your resume and maybe someday if you need a job, you can find one?
Lauren, I'll let you go first in this one.
This is a great conversation, and we did last week when Jena and I connected. We had we had a lot to say, so I'm glad that you asked this. I think that yes, LinkedIn is absolutely useful. And as with every recruitment tool, it is just a tool. I think that there's not one end all be all way that any of us are going to find roles. So I think it's really important to diversify. I'm going to let Jena, and I'll let Jena talk in a moment, because I think Jena gives some really great examples of how it can be absolutely beneficial and all of the great aspects of LinkedIn. I think that it's how you want to utilize it. I think that it's really important. I love the metaphor of keeping the lights on. I think it's always important to show that you're accessible. So you can tell someone who has just thrown something up there that is, just to have something up there, and they're not really engaging. And then, but if you're truly looking to career change or job change, it's really important to be, to keep your lights on and show that there is some communication. I will say that, I don't recommend having it be your sole tool. Just to give some perspective of internally at internal organizations, it can be really cost prohibitive for human resources departments to fund LinkedIn recruiter accounts. It's I remember when I started I moved from an international firm to a privately owned firm that was maybe about 75 to 100 employees, and it was cost prohibitive for for the agency to keep up a LinkedIn account, and they did it because they felt they had to, but it was, it was not, it wasn't a place that we could continue to, to do our sole recruitment. So keep that in mind, that not every organization is going to be utilizing LinkedIn, but then again, it's really important to diversify the way that you, you're looking for work and making relationships and network. But I am going to throw things over to Jena because I think she's got some really great examples of how it really can be of service for you if you choose to use LinkedIn that way. So yeah, Jena.
I'm happy to. I love LinkedIn. LinkedIn's like one of my favorite tools. So in the chat, I had just written down, if you could tell us what level you are in your career to help us probably answer the questions a little bit more effectively to whatever level you're in, if we see that most of you are mid or senior level. So if you could just drop that in the notes, that would be really helpful. So LinkedIn, what is LinkedIn really great for? There are three main ways that I feel that LinkedIn is really useful. So LinkedIn is really good for marketing yourself, which is all about your profile and what you produce and put out there. LinkedIn is really great for researching companies. So even if a company doesn't have a recruiter license, they have a page on there. And so if you go on that page, you can see, okay, what is this company doing? Are they actively involved in their talent acquisition strategies? And then also, if you scroll a little bit down on the company's page, you can see what are some other companies that are like this. So if you're trying to explore, like, what are some different companies to even get my hands dirty in, and I just don't know what they are, you can actually go to LinkedIn, look at a company you know, and see what other companies are similar. So that's the second way. So first way is marketing. Second way, marketing yourself. Second way is through researching companies. And the third way, which is my favorite, is networking. So I have never gotten a job from just applying online. So notice none of these things are applying on LinkedIn. I've never gotten a job from applying online. I've only ever gotten a job from people I've networked with. And so if you are not networking, you need to get off of this webinar after this and you need to go onto LinkedIn and start connecting with people. That's like the number one thing I want you to do. But LinkedIn is just such an amazing tool to have. When you say that, oh, I don't go to any networking events, here's what networking is not. Networking is not a happy hour. It is not awkward conversations. It is simply mutually beneficial professional relationships developed over time. That is what networking is. And so when you look at it from that perspective, LinkedIn becomes this big oasis where you can actually reach out to people that live in California if you live in New York. I met people in Nashville, Tennessee before I even moved here, and I own my own business and I'm still networking, and I use LinkedIn as a tool for that. So my encouragement to you is to use it for those three things. You can use it to apply online, sure. But as Lauren had mentioned, it costs companies a lot of money. I was just looking at a LinkedIn page for a client recently. We were looking at the company Betterment. It's a fintech company. And I was showing him that, hey, look, they are only showing one job posting here on this site. But if you go to their careers page, they actually have 20 different jobs that they have listed right now. So really LinkedIn is should be your hub, but it shouldn't be the place where you spend all of your resources. 20% of your time should be spent applying online. 80% of your time should be spent networking. And one last thing, because I love LinkedIn, and I'm so sorry that I'm like hogging this right now.
No, it's good. I think it's really important that you share this as well.
So I've been posting a lot on LinkedIn. So if you want to find a way to follow me, I'm very, very active on LinkedIn. I'm always posting bits of information, quick tips, thought leadership things. And if you are doing that, I'm not the only one that should be doing that because it's my business. You should be doing that as well in your career. I have a client right now. She is a product marketing manager. A lot of people don't even know what that is. And so she would start posting on LinkedIn about what product marketing management was. She would start making infographics and posting those, and people would see that. And the more people that saw that, she has more opportunities to get in front of recruiters that do actually have licenses. I had a post recently that I call it LinkedIn viral. It's probably not viral to some people, but it got 40,000 views in 1 week. And it was just simply from posting something that was thought-provoking. Lots of people had opinions on it, talking about millennials in the workforce. And so that just got me in front of more people. That's not just because I own a business. You can do that too in your own personal brand. Exactly. So I will leave you with that. Post and be on LinkedIn.
All right. And I have to give a plug for, we just launched, and you'll all get a link to join this, a Lehigh-only platform called Lehigh Connect, which is just Lehigh alums, but offers a lot of mentoring kind of support. We have discussion groups and professional alliances, whatnot. But again, you'll get a link to that. So in addition to LinkedIn, you may want to also use the network that is 80,000 people strong here at Lehigh. All right. So it looks like a lot of people are, Jena, based on your question, kind of mid to senior
Perfect.
level, looking at career pivoting. So Tanya actually was asking, mid-management for 10 years in higher ed since 1990, poised to make a change, personal mission, and disbandment of my department are catalysts for that. I'm wondering if you have services or advice about career trajectories, thinking about the impact of the position titles and the impact on location, quality of life, all of that. So if someone is looking to make a mid-level career pivot or change, what are some of the factors that they should be considering? What are some expectations around that?
Lauren, do you want to go?
Yes, I mean, I think it's a great question. It's also a really broad question because that's going to look very different depending on a number of factors. What's your, what industry you're in, what industry you're looking to go to, what are your personal limitations, whether it be, family, location, whatever it may be. So I don't know if I could answer that question, but, what I think that I recommend for career changers to do, or those that are considering career changers, is to just start getting out there and informationally interviewing and get curious. I think that the worst thing that we can do is sit behind our desks and look, as Jena said, be applying to job postings and thinking about that's the way that we career change, is really answer our questions and really change the way that we look at informationally interviewing. And when we were starting out our careers, it was about having a conversation about what a certain industry was like and handing your resume and asking how you could fit in, and it was kind of a way to apply to a job. But there's nothing at this juncture to keep you from getting curious about any industry, any job that you want, without feeling like that you need to send your resume along. Obviously, sometimes we utilize our resume to be able to have reference and to talk about ourselves, but to really encourage people to to get out there and ask the questions of the jobs that they're interested in, their careers that they're interested in themselves, in a way that you're information gathering and not feeling like you're making a giant move or leap. And so to be able to do that research and feel really empowered to yourself that you can ask those questions.
And Jena, before you answer the question, Tanya wrote in here specifically, do you go down a title at a great place or get a great title at what she's calling a poor place, but maybe a smaller or a lesser known place? So do you have any advice there?
I have thoughts on that. Yeah, so I think it comes down to what do you really want in your career versus what you envision success to look like. And so once you boil it down and get really clear on what do you actually want in your career, what do you want to have accomplished at your retirement party, what do you want people to have said about you, or what are some projects you've done? Think about that end goal and then backtrack your way into which move should I make. When I was transitioning out of finance, I had a couple of job offers on the table. One was at a big tech company. It was just a bunch of JP Morgan guys went over to a tech company, let's be real, that company. And then I had another organization that was going to let me move out of New York, which was what I really, really wanted at the time. And then I had this really small, dinky company called themuse.com, which is a great career advice site. There's 30 people, female founded, didn't even have any Series A round of funding, huge pay cut. I took that job. And that led me to kind of where I am today. So I think it depends on, I just had to get really super honest with myself about what I wanted my career to look like versus what everybody else wanted my career to look like. And the safety versus risk. And there's different things. I was young, I didn't have family, didn't have kids. So there's different things you have to think about during that process. But I think the biggest problem that most people have when trying to figure out what career move next is they just don't ask the question, what do I want?
Yes.
Ask that question first, then track your way into, okay, what are the steps that I need to do to get there? I think also the kind of what you had said, Lauren, talking to a lot of people, that's a really big portion of it. I say usually first step, evaluate where you're currently at, what you like, what you not like. 2, it's like actually explore, see what else is out there in terms of companies, jobs. The industry's changed. 15 years ago, Facebook didn't exist. Now we have social media, like consulting firms to help other, it's a totally new industry, right? Then have those informational interviews, those conversations with people that are actually doing the job, and then finally start to synthesize that information into a clarification point. So I think if you're able to do that, that's going to help you formulate an answer as well.
And just a quick about Tanya's question about the role itself, because it sounded very job specific. It really, I mean, just to reiterate what Jena said, it really matters how you feel and how you feel when you walk into that organization. Do you feel like there is progression? Do you? I was speaking about the lesser known company. Do you feel like they're moving in? Does it feel right? I mean, I think we want to. There's a way that we feel that I think naturally we want to. Have a cookie cutter answer to this, but really it goes down to does this company, the companies that you're looking at, do they match your values of what's most important to you, and really getting clear on that. Working in media, we had 2 clients, and I'll never forget this, and I like to use this as an example. One was it was the world's largest fashion and alcohol brand, and it was very popular in terms of getting candidates to apply, et cetera. And then we had one financial institution in the media world that oftentimes can doesn't necessarily evoke the feelings of creativity. But I got to tell you, the financial institution that was a small financial institution that seemed maybe like the more boring gig ended up by being the most fascinating because of what was available to them and what they're able to do. The employees were able to do day to day, and how innovative and thought-provoking they were. So really, if you can take away the company names and titles and really think internally about what these roles mean to you and how your values line up, then that would be my biggest and best suggestion.
Okay. S. Mazur 7 has a question, and maybe you can broaden it. His question or her question is about specific advice for transitioning within fintech or business development and sales. And I guess let's expand that to, if you know the field you want to go into, are there any specific things, going to trade shows or conferences or calling on specific people? Are there specific things to do when you know what industry you want to go into?
I mean, there's a lot of things you can do. I think one of the things is just understanding what value you can bring to the table for any company, and with what you've done in your past, and then see where you want to go in the future and how does that fit into what you've done in the past as part of it. So people are like, what are my transferable skills? I don't really know. I would just sit down one day and write down, what value can I bring to an organization? Because ultimately, a company doesn't hire somebody because they can do a bunch of tasks. They do that, but it's mostly because they're going to provide value to their company. It's either they're going to make them more efficient, it's going to make them more money, or it's going to make them have more time. One of those 3 things is usually what somebody wants when they're going to hire you. So if you can backtrack your way into, this is what they really, really want out of somebody, and here's what I have to offer, the connection point is where you can kind of foray and get into that new industry.
Yeah, I would think too, with something like fintech and business development sales, you want to use a lot of quantifiable data about yourself. Is that true?
It depends on I was just looking at a bunch of fintech companies, which I'm assuming you're saying that because of the betterment that I mentioned, but it depends. So sales and business development for fintech companies looks really varied. So it could be B2B sales. Some fintech companies are trying to take away personal financial wealth advisors, and so that's the old school part of sales. So it really looks different for every company. So I think you have to define what that looks like for the companies you're interested in working for first.
All right. Jack is asking, what's the best way to find your worth or compensation in terms of your job function and experience?
I have thoughts. I can.
Why don't you start? Yes, why don't you start, and I'll follow in.
Yeah, so I think some of the best ways to understand, there's a couple of factors that go into compensation, but Lauren probably has way more information on this because she's been in that field. But I usually tell folks that you should look at pay scale. You should look at LinkedIn Premium and see what is generally the market rate for this type of position. And then from there, kind of use some sort of understanding of kind of where you've been in your career, what you've done in your career, what value you bring to the table, and then what the market rate is so that you could potentially position yourself appropriately. But Lauren probably has way more to say on this, so I'd love if you could give your thoughts on it.
Well, you know, no, I mean, I think that's excellent, and there's a lot more information out there about what each role is at in different industries and what their worth is, and whereas that used to be that information used to be confidential. It's a lot more, and laws have changed in the past couple of years to be able to have conversations and honest conversations about what that about what that looks like. So between, like I said, Glassdoor and other and just networking and being able to, and LinkedIn has a resource as well. Absolutely, to be able to research and ask around and know that this conversation is a lot more expected and transparent.
Yeah, it's complex conversation, and I think it's on a case-by-case basis, so it's hard to give like a blanket statement as to how exactly to find your worth without knowing your situation. But I think generally speaking, it comes down to what's the market rate, what's your value that you bring to the table, and where do you live locationally too. That makes a big change too.
Yeah.
I want to just add something just as before we get into the next questions. I hear a lot of the questions being phrased as what is the best? What is, how exactly do we achieve certain roles or jobs or go about? And I think that what you'll hear from Jena and I and Jennifer and probably anyone else that you speak with is that there's not one direct way to obtain a job. There's so many different factors in every industry and every job, and we can share best practices. But there's not going to, in very few conversations that we're going to have, if there's an only one best way. And I think that any good career coach that you're going to speak with is never going to direct you to one and only way of doing business. We want the more diversification that you can have in the way you approach this process, the better. Yeah.
And I would also say, as the Director of Alumni Relations here, again, the 80,000 people in the Lehigh network on LinkedIn, you can search by university. And so I always suggest to people, find other Lehigh alumni. Don't worry if you don't know them. I have found all Lehigh alumni, at least the ones that interact with us, are so generous with their time. And I think we were talking about informational interviews. You call up any Lehigh alum and say, hey, I was reading your LinkedIn profile. It sounds like you're doing exactly what I want to do. Do you have 20 minutes to chat? We're a really generous family in sharing our time. So that's always a good place to start.
People like to talk about themselves.
Yeah.
They really do.
Yeah. And just don't say the phrase, pick your brain. That's my biggest pet peeve. If somebody does that to me, I would be like,
you can pick my brain. See, there's no direct way to handle it.
Right. We only have about a minute or two left. So I wanted to spend that time. There's a lot of other questions here. But what we'll do is we will take down those questions and send them to you. And if you can respond via email, that would be really helpful for people. This has been really amazing. I'm so happy that you all are willing to give your time. And to the alums on the call, both Jena and Lauren will do a 30-minute consultation at no charge for you. And if you decide you do want to move forward with their services, it's 15% off for Lehigh alums, which is a phenomenal deal. And I think you've seen from both of these women that they really know what they're doing. I don't know, I do the math is a little dangerous, but using a career coach like this probably cuts down the time you're out of work or gets you to the job that you really want to be in a lot faster. So I've used career coaches. I find them really, really helpful. So that would be my recommendation. But again, thank you ladies so much for being on the call. And for those of you on the phone, we will be doing a short survey. So if you have any further questions, just fill them in there and we will be sending you links to Lehigh Connects and some other tools. So thank you all for being on the call today. Bye.
Thank you.